can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Hello, everybody. Miss Teri Pugh, how are you?
I am fantastic. How are you, Miss Devon O'Day?
You know, I'm really glad the time changes this weekend.
I know, girl.
It's like, and we got St. Patrick's week starting. I mean, it's the whole deal for me. My
It
favorite
is.
holiday. It's just like all the good stuff happening.
It is. It is. And I love the fact that now, granted, here in Tennessee, we get 15 delayed winters and freezes, but I love the clover that's popping up and the trees that are budding and the flowers. I also understand that, yes, if the freeze comes, it all dies. But right now, in this moment, I love that those little babies are just popping up everywhere and they're just pretty.
I love the daffodils.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all, we're going to open up the big old can of worms about drama today. We hear buzzwords real popular right now. Trauma bond is really popular right now. It's coming up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just going to talk about those toxic relationships that we hate them. We want to be out of them, and yet, do we?
And
There's
yet
a
we're
weird
bonded to
thing.
them. Bonded to them somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we become addicted to what, and I'm going to help you get you to unpack it because you've dealt with it a lot in your practice. When it comes to that, what happens to our body where it sickens us, it makes us feel all jittery, and yet it energizes us? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. And yes, I do help clients navigate that. But if we're being completely transparent, I have dealt with that in my own personal relationships. So it's a thing. And none of us are um, exempt from having toxic people float in and out of our lives. It's real important that we know that or that we acknowledge that.
Yeah, we're not
Um,
immune. Not immune.
right. None of us are. And so, um, it is a thing because oftentimes what will happen is our brain gets modeled and so dependent in a way on the normal that we're living and living in that when we think about that toxic friend or partner or husband or wife or family member not being in our life, there's almost a sense of withdrawal that happens because we have to grieve that, even though they might be the most awful of awful as far as for us, right? I'm not making a personal judgment on them, but just as far as a fit for us. And so when that trauma bond comes into play and we go wishy-washy on wanting them in and then creating Otis is coming in, y'all, just to let y'all know. Um, we go wishy-washy on wanting them in our life and then not wanting them in our life. And then learning the difference of, is it the person or is it the potential of what that relationship could have been? Not with that person, but in your ideal, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are in toxic relationships vacillate back and forth on wanting to stay in the relationship and not wanting to stay in it. Most of the time they don't want to stay in it, but they'll say, well, I miss them or I love them or they're such a whatever, whatever. And when they get a closer look, it's not really the person so much as it is the ideation of having a belonging, a loving relationship, someone to be there, some support, whatever that is.
Yeah. Elizabeth is with us. In my past, the toxic was the safer known. The unknown
Absolutely.
was scarier to me, and I was too timid to do anything about it. That
Mm-hmm.
that is it. And Candy, hi Candy. Oh yes, that
Okay.
resonates. Terry, missing the idea of how it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm, that's it. Angie's with us today.
Hi,
Hi,
Angie.
Angie.
Yeah.
I think that too, the adrenaline rush of the fight.
Hmm.
and then the makeup, whether it's makeup sex or whether it's makeup joy,
Yeah, with a friendship.
yeah, with a friendship, even with an attaboy with a working relationship. I mean, it
Hmm.
may be all hell, and then you turn in a project, and then that person that is horribly toxic to you in your workplace says, "Wow, it's a really great job. We couldn't even run this company without you." Bam, you're back in.
Hmm. And those are the consistent dopamine drips. They're the dopamine drips that come through and just when you think you're done, bing, and the brain goes, "Oh, well, maybe this will work. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe whatever." And that's not necessarily, they may not be a good fit. This may not
Mhm.
be a good fit, but because that brain gets so accustomed to having that little tiny dopamine hit. It's like when people have dinner,
Mhm. Having a little
you know,
issue with connectivity, just so you
we are, I
yeah,
see that.
just a little bit, but we're back. But so,
Yeah.
uh, I wanted to ask, okay, we're adults now, we're having these things, but does this sometimes stem back to our littles, which everything seems to, but trying to please somebody in our home, maybe it please our mom, please our dad, please, and
A
fit in
teacher.
with the family, a teacher, okay?
Hmm. It does. It does. And when you said, we're all adults, my eyebrow arched. I was like, are we? Because the truth of it is, many of us still have, if we are cognizant about the energy that surges through our body, we know when we're feeling silly and lighthearted and fun and a little salty and hurt, and we can not necessarily have a way of putting blame on others, but just acknowledging what we're feeling. And absolutely, the things that are unacknowledged, it's not about diving back into your past and going, well, we've got to just put a stamp on all of this stuff and seal this up. Not about that at all. It's about, oh, I understand now why I might feel hurt when this person shows up like this, or when I do my very best. And I know I've done my very best, but then the next words that come out of your mouth are, but my best isn't good enough. Well, that's a bunch of cockahooey, you know, because that is a perception that someone else is judging what our best is.
Mhm.
So, and
You
we
know,
often fall in that.
yeah. There's used to be, and I remember seeing this poster when I was little, and it has stuck with me my whole life. It's like you raise a child with block X, and you get, when they're older, they become this. When you raise a child with criticism, they become never enough.
Hmm.
And that's the thing, because I'll just throw mine out there. I was raised with someone who always wanted to sharpen me and make me better. Not that that's a bad thing, but it came in the form of criticism. And I remember saying to, this parental unit, saying, well, I didn't get an A on this. And, but I mean, a B is okay, but not for you. And I said, but my sister got a C, and I was okay. I said, yeah, but she's not you. A C
Hmm.
is good for her. An A is what you're capable of. And I remember feeling, I think it was an A minus or something. It was just always that push. And not I mean, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus,
Sure.
love them, whatever. But I think that a lot of us carry those criticisms of the past into our present. And then we consistently repeat that same relationship as we go forward. So,
Hmm.
but this time I'm going to do it, and they're going to go, wow, that's great.
Hmm.
Wow, that's great.
And oftentimes it plays out where, when criticized as a child, you may grow up and know what it's like to be criticized. So you don't necessarily turn that sword on others,
Yeah.
but you will implicitly soak it up and stab yourself with it over and over and over. because we can internally criticize ourselves. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm too skinny.
Yeah.
I'm too big. My legs don't look good. My hair's not the right color, whatever, whatever. And as we age, if we don't work on the acknowledgement of that criticism and really make nice with that part of ourself, we'll continue to age and continue to find things that are not okay with us as we are. And that is a life unfulfilled right there.
Mm-hmm. And I also find that one of the reasons that we're addicted to drama, there's a book that I read years ago, and it's probably out of print, but called The Agony of It All,
Mm-hmm.
Addicted to the Drama Within Your Family. And that when there's someone in your family that screams a lot, that yells a lot, that is the one that is always right on the edge, and everybody walks on eggshells to make sure that that person's happy, we repeat that dynamic going forward, going, the next time I do this, I'm going to be able to do this better. I'm going to be able to keep that situation. I'm going to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always happen that way. And you cannot correct an old relationship by repeating it in a new one. You cannot.
Correct.
It's because it's always going to be totally different. The old
Well,
one's still going to be messed up, and the new one might be messed up too. So,
and here's the thing: no one in any relationship, regardless of what type of relationship, is ever responsible for paying the karmic debt of the original offender.
y'all, that almost that needs to be like carved in stone and put that somewhere in your house. It's not even just to write it down. Oh, say that one more time.
No one from our past or from our future needs to pay the karmic debt of the original offender. Meaning, we may have people in our lives that hurt us, and we will go through life trying to feel whole and complete. And in an attempt to do that, with every effort that we make, we will, because of belief systems about ourselves, create scenarios where we are attracting people that are being forced to pay that debt for that original offender. And that never works. It never works.
I love it. And thank you, Elizabeth, for putting that in our notes. That's just great. Um, she also added, oh, how the criticisms my littles got can still pop to the front of my mind some days. Thankfully, I've got new tools in my toolbox to help me be kinder to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah. Rhonda joins in the conversation. I was raised in a very toxic family, but so glad things have changed for the better. But I still have to be very aware of toxic situations and people.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one I'm going to throw out. Sometimes it's not our drama in the relationship. Sometimes somebody that we are with is addicted to the drama, and they keep goading us to turn us into that thing from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to realize that sometimes you're with somebody who really likes to fight, who
Mm-hmm.
really likes the drama, who really likes well, I'm leaving, slamming a door. If the slamming door is part of your deal, I mean, what if you're with somebody like that and it's not your stuff, and you have been tasked with cashing the karmic paycheck?
Well, they can't task you with that. I mean, if you're the bank, you get to lock the door and say, I don't think so. So you have to get very clear. Is it the person that you are enamored, in love? If it's a friendship, or a platonic or an intimate, is it if it's, I saw this on a shirt the other day and I absolutely love it. If it steals your peace of mind, it's not worth the investment. So you have
Y'all,
to ask,
that's another write it down one. Yes.
so you have to ask yourself, what role are you playing in this chaos? Because you are playing a role. And we don't like to admit that sometimes. And no, I'm not. I'm just trying to keep my side of the street clean and I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, well, if you're still in that toxic tango, then you are playing a role in it. And so we lose our right to moan and groan and complain about it when we're punching the dance card. Turn up the music. Let's do this dance. I can't stand it when they do this. Well, why are you still dancing? So
Yeah.
look
Why
at
are
this.
you still here?
Yeah. So look at the situation and ask yourself, am I in this because I enjoy this? Do I enjoy this anxiety? Do I enjoy feeling small? Do I enjoy trying to fix them? Do I enjoy trying to prove to them that I'm not that person from their past? You're never going to prove to them that. Ever, ever, ever. So, is it the ideation of having a good relationship? Is it being bonded to someone in a healthy way where it's like, I love this friendship. I love the support. I love the whatever. If it's that, and you can seriously look at this relationship and go, yeah, that's there. Is it there consistently? Well, no, it's not there consistently. It's only there once they get mad. We have a blow up. They slam the door. I say, please don't go. They go anyway. They call me back. And then after all of this rinse and repeat, we get a little pocket of time that's warm and fuzzy. And then we start squeezing our butt cheeks together because we know the cycle's fixing to start up again. And if
Yeah.
that's your jam and you like that cycle, we'll sit and spin. If that's your thing, do it. Because you're not helping or hurting anyone from a stance of, if your family externally then lets you come to them and dump, well, then they need to set boundaries. And if you are in a place where you don't like the dumping from this partner or this friend, whatever, then you have to be willing to go, I don't have the bandwidth for that right now.
Well, I'm going to bring up the physical manifestation of what that sit and spin brings up.
Mm-hmm.
Adrenal burnout, heart issues, literally a broken heart issue. There are blood pressure issues. There are things, it causes dis-ease, even cancer. Those, people can look in their lives and where the toxicity has developed in a physical manifestation over and over and over, it happens. So
Mm-hmm.
you can think that, well, it's my life, I can do this and it won't, it just doesn't affect anybody. It affects you in ways that you don't even see sometimes. Elizabeth adds, I have people in my life that are addicted to the drama. They're addicted to drama. Their choice is to go to the drama or the negative first. I choose not
Mm-hmm.
to play in their games and drama. And she also adds, I always have a role. I always have a response, and I'm responsible somehow.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, that addictive, the addictive, I call it the addictive metabolism. Our addictive metabolism is, um, it is, it is keen, because I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm not addicted to anything. Like, I don't have addictions. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not saying you do, but when people right out of the gate start hollering about they're not addicted to anything, I'm like, we ain't even talking about addiction. Apparently you got something going on, but here it is.
I didn't bring anything up.
Right. We're not even talking about it, but here it is. We can be addicted to heroin, to cocaine, to eating, to not eating, to smoking, to sex, to porn, to shopping, to drama, to negativity, to positivity, to working,
To these
to
things.
yes, we can be addicted to so many things. We can be addicted to unhappiness, and on one side of our mouth, we're talking about how we want to be happy, how we want to be happy, how we want to be happy. But then
Yeah.
again, we're not really willing to do the things we need to do to be happy, because we're trying to glue the plate back together over here rather than go, hey, that plate shattered. So let
Mhm.
me just discard this plate and start with a new plate.
Mhm.
So it's a brain thing. It's a brain dopamine, feel good, instant gratification thing. And so what's
Yeah.
important, and I have clients get pissed all the time when I say, maybe you're addicted to unhappiness. I'm not an addict. And I'm like, look, get out of the head about, I'm not saying you're you're addicted to meth or that you're addicted to whatever. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying your brain responds in a way where even the very response of, maybe you could be, have you ever considered maybe you're addicted to unhappiness, and immediately they fire off or they get sad or they get
Yeah.
mad. And I'm like, hang on a minute. Like, we're just talking. We're throwing spaghetti on the wall and we're seeing what sticks, right? It's the same instant gratification, a feel good fix. It's this, that's the drag off of the cigarette or the draw, whatever the smoking thing is. It's the puff off of the cigarette. It's the cookie after you eat dinner and you're full, but you need that little hit of chocolate. It's the drama from the friend who's got the drama and you can't wait to talk to them because they got drama and you just can't wait to talk to them. It's all of that. It's all of that and so much more, because it's the same chemistries that are, the brain is firing and wiring the same, and it wants more and it wants more and it wants more. And I will tell you this, not to get technical into the brain, but think of it this way: there's little receptors in the brain,
Mhm.
and so they grow up and they're like this, there's like five
Yeah.
little receptors. We start thinking these things, we start craving these things, we want this stuff, so then it mutates. So now there's 10, and then there's 15, and there's 20. And until you remove yourself from that, those little tentacles can't wither off and die. So you have to be willing to step outside of that drug of choice, whether it's drama, cigarettes, sex, toxicity, whatever. You've got to be willing to step outside of that and basically starve those little receptors, but you're replacing them with healthier habits, healthier choices, healthier behaviors.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. One of the things that, and I'll go ahead and throw myself out here as the sacrificial lamb on this because it's true. Because one of the things I had to face was that leaving a home addicted to trauma, drama scenario, going out into the real world, starting adult relationships. I found that people who were peaceful, good, steady, boring.
Mhm.
And I had become so addicted to the excitement of let's throw things around the kitchen, let's scream, let's holler, let's do whatever. That was a relationship to me. So when I got into the world of peaceful, good, and wholesome, it was like, I am not that. No, I don't want anything part of it. So my part of the responsibility was, well, I want peace. I want peace. Well, do you?
Mhm.
And you, I mean, I was almost yesterday years old when I was hanging out in the rooms with you when you pointed out, well, yeah, you have a responsibility. You're choosing this. What? Okay,
Yeah.
now, I don't know if anybody else has ever faced this or not, but that's why good girls go after bad boys. Okay, there's a reason for that. And
Mhm.
sometimes and we make those choices in our new relationships. So sometimes it's the boredom, and that's where the addiction happens. It's the same
Mhm.
thing that gives us the excitement that's deep in our core that we go,
Mhm.
you
And
know,
it's the very thing that you don't really want, because
right.
most of the time as children, you grow up and you crave stability. You crave, and I say discipline, and I don't mean like whacked over the hand with a ruler. I mean discipline. Keep your room tidy. Let's have dinner at the table, not eat in your room. Like, we crave things that don't take away our rights to be kids and all that, but we crave structure to some degree. Now,
Structure and routine.
some
Structure and
parents
routine.
take it way to the
Yeah.
extreme, one way or the other. Um, but we crave that, and when we don't have it, that doesn't take away the fact that that is a deficit in there, and we're working from that. So outwardly we're craving that relationship that, or outwardly we're craving the relationship that feels normal. It's our typical, it's what's been modeled to and around us. But internally, that part that was still a void, it craves that grounding,
Yeah.
that connection, that safety. Not because we as individuals can't function on our own, but because as individuals, often we're designed to be coupled with friends or a partner. And so it feels good.
Right.
And we'll couple up with someone, friendship, partnership, work environment. I mean, how many people have got bosses in their life that they would, you would almost bend over backwards to please your boss and it would never be enough, you know?
Yeah.
So we have to be willing to look at our role in that. And the last thing we want to do is go, oh yeah, yeah. I play a role in that.
Yeah.
And there's a gift in that. It's empowering to go, yeah. It goes over about as well as a fart in a spacesuit because we don't like to admit that. But when we sit with it, it's like, okay, well, now that I've acknowledged this, now I'm empowered to
Oh,
make some changes. Because as long as I sit there and go, no, no, then we're going to repeat the cycle over and over, and everyone else will be the problem except us.
oh, because we can't change other people. The only thing we can change is us. And that's where the beginning of the problem is, us.
Hmm.
And we don't like to admit that. Corinne says, I had a boss that loved to make statements about me that were wrong, and I fought back, thought that would stop it. I finally learned that my silence was actually my answer.
Yeah, because here's the thing with some people, and Corinne, you probably know this if you were with this person long enough as an employee or employer relationship. When it works the same way, actually, in just about all relationships. If the minute that we start going, but you're feeding them, you're giving them exactly what they want. Because when we fight back, there's a difference. There's a difference in standing up and going, you know what, I'm choosing just to not even engage in this. Now, some people will go, well, that's just walking away, you know.
It's just 30 friggin' years.
Good Lord, Korean. That's a long time.
Mhm.
That's a long time. But you know what? I mean, we do what we got to do, right?
That's
You
right.
know, and
Yeah.
so but the initial thing with that is that you know when we do that with someone, it's like that thing, and you and I have talked about this several times, Devon. When like when kids are in the car and they're like,
I'm not touching
I'm not
you.
touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. That is the child's version to the adult version that goes, well, you didn't do this the way I asked you to do it, or you always do yada yada yada. It's the same thing. Adults are just using their adult words to manipulate and to bully, where children just sit there in the back seat and put their finger up your nose, going, "I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." Either both of them are irritating.
Yeah.
But the minute that you start going, stop it, you're bothering me, da 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 da,
Right.
you're not the gray rock anymore. Now you are a technicolor flying kite, and they are going to go after it and after because they know they can get you that way. You become that gray rock and you're just uninterested. It doesn't mean you don't want to throat punch them. It just means you're just not going to engage with them.
Phew.
And they lose interest.
Yeah, they do. Candy adds, I used to be addicted to the challenge of making someone like me. Oh, the pleaser. Yes, I get it. If they were mean to me, I sought to prove them wrong. People I didn't have to fight for never felt like I'd earned them. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Those are, and those are the things that when we look back at our root system. I tell people that when I'm doing the work with the littles and I'm doing the work around grief and loss, it's very much like a dandelion. Like some people look at dandelions and they go, "Oh, it's a pretty yellow flower," and then they're like, "Oh, look, we can blow it and make a wish," and then some people look at it and they're like, "That's a weed. Get it out of here." You know, it serves both purposes. But the
Yeah.
one thing a dandelion has, much like our grief and much like our needs and our beliefs, it has what they call a tap root. So it's like a carrot almost underneath the ground. And from that root system are all these little tentacles that go out. So our behavior is like that root. It's why we respond the way we respond. But then
Mhm.
there's all these other family dynamics and hurts and
Yeah.
wrongs and all of these things that go out. And so we have to work through that to figure out or acknowledge, oh, I show up this way probably because I had this, this, and this. So it makes sense. If I had all of this and I didn't have this, then that's the deficit. That's what I'm trying to get. How can I change my mindset to get this so that we're not addicted to the things that are not serving us?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the things that with I always and what helped me was first taking responsibility for my part in it and admitting it's kind of like, for me it's in the whole 12 step of life, I had to admit that I was contributing to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to break away from a bad relationship long enough to stop. That's like you said, you have to pull away from the things that you've always done in the past. You've
Mm-hmm.
always done, and learn to be comfortable in good, pleasant, things that feel good, peace. Those were
Mm-hmm.
so foreign to me that I felt them so unattainable that I just told myself I didn't like them. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody has ever been in that, and I've just thrown myself out here talking about this stuff, but I know I'm not alone in this. For me, and I want to encourage you all to, sometimes you might need help.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody that says they don't need help, girl,
Mhm. Well, I will tell you,
don't get me started.
my
And
help,
that includes me as well, you know.
my help's this woman right here that she really helped me through that. But you have to have someone that will point out when you're heading down the same path again, expecting a different reaction, a different solution, a different ending to the story. So I want to encourage you to reach out and to get help. I had a wonderful program that helped me, that one of my fellowships that I was a part of, and so it was a inexpensive way of doing therapy for me that helped me realize that I could have peace and what peace felt like. Settling in,
Mm-hmm.
that self-care that we talk about here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Here's the one thing and I want people to, this is a nugget to put in your pocket, because a lot of times we can get on a path of doing, um, creating healthier choices and healthier habits. And I'm going to use alcoholism as just sort of the example here. The brain is created, if we look at the brain as like Play-Doh, right? And one side of the brain, you've got this little Tonka truck, and it's just gone back and forth and back and forth and
Yeah.
back and forth and back and forth. And it's created these divots. It's gone back and forth so many times that the undercarriage of it now is just going, it's not going any further, right? If we can pause that truck for just a minute, pause those wheels from spinning, leave the truck running if you need to, get out of it and walk to the other side of the brain where there are other pathways that are being created. And those pathways have yet to be discovered. So it's going to take a little work. Sometimes we as human beings don't like work. That's a 4-letter word. We don't like it. Well, okay, then stay in the truck. I don't know what to tell you. But if we're doing this work, then we are consciously and cognitively every day choosing things that are moving us in the direction of the person, of the individual, of the human, of the spiritual creature, of the whatever, that mom, dad, brother, sister, daughter, friend that we want to be, that inspires us. That does not ever take away the tracks that are made over here. So when I say I'm going to reference the alcoholism, it's like, how many of us have heard, well, they were sober living for a long time and then they fell off the wagon. Something triggered, and these pathways over here were engaged again. So people who have been in any kind of support system, 12-step program, any kind of struggle with their self, we all know this. We know that changing is a daily thing, right? And it takes work, and it takes being kind to yourself, and it takes loving yourself, and it takes being okay with not being okay, and it takes saying, you know what, I did my best today. And
Mhm.
sometimes your best might be, ooh wee, I'm going to rev that truck up. This person's got my goat. Don't let them keep your goat.
They can't have your goat.
They can't have your goat. Don't let them keep your peace of mind. Don't let them keep your sanity. Don't let them keep the things that are not theirs. They're your birthright. You have
Mhm.
the birthright to be happy, to be joyful, to be angry when you need to be angry. We didn't get these emotions just to like go, well, I think I'm just going to cherry pick my emotions. I'm not going to do all those. They're there for a reason. And when we
Right.
balance them, we can experience all of them. It's like Skittles. You can open up a bag of Skittles and you can go, well, I don't really like those yellow ones, but it's in the bag. I'm going to go ahead and try it, but it doesn't mean that you have to constantly feed into them, you know. I know that's a long
Well,
tirade about the brain and the way that the brain forms, but or creates these pathways. The bottom line is the brain is doing what it's been trained to do, implicitly or explicitly. It's not that we are bad humans. We're not bad
that's
people
right.
because we have choices that sometimes feel a little outside healthy. It's because the brain has been bonded with this unhealthy, and it takes an awareness to rebond that, to create new things for the brain to bond to, so that then we're doing new things.
Corinne says, pretty cool to see the shock when I smiled and said thank you to that boss. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Elizabeth closes with, my emotions can come and go without control. I can control my actions and reactions to them.
mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so good. Well, um, this is a big old can of worms, and I hope it's given you something to think about today. If I can leave you with anything, it's that peace is possible, and loving the peace is possible. Contentment is possible. Having a joyful time in your life and feeling free all the dadgum time can be possible. You just have to let yourself out of the prison. Elizabeth says, a former therapist described it to me as my brain is like a rock. My thoughts, actions were a groove. There's your truck groove. It takes a
Mm-hmm.
while to wear a new groove or pattern.
Absolutely.
It does.
Absolutely.
I always say in my fellowship that I attend somewhat regularly, the when you sober up a horse thief, you have a sober horse thief. This show is to address the horse thief. We're trying to find out the part of us that makes us do whatever it is we do to cover up that thing we're trying to fill. And so that's what we're opening up here. It's a lot. And today was a little bit deeper show today. You can reach me with topics for further shows at devonoday@gmail.com. And Teri Pugh, I'm going to turn it over to you, my darling.
And I can be reached at terrypugh.com. And I'm gonna piggyback on that horse thief just for a second. If this horse
Mhm.
thief grew up in a family where all they did was thieve and steal horses, then he or she grew up in an environment where that was normal. It's what you did. So it doesn't mean that horse thief is a bad person. It just means they're doing what they were trained to do. And
Mhm.
so we repeat these cycles. And again, it's not a slam on our family dynamics. It's not a slam on our family dynamics. It's an opportunity for us as adults to go, what's not working for me? Let
Yeah.
me be accountable.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about let me accept this is not working for me, because then the brain sometimes goes, well, now you're just saying you accept it, which means you have no choice in the matter. And it's like, okay, let's just acknowledge it and let's be accountable for it. And then let's make the choices to move away from whatever's not working for us. The option is to move into something that does work, or stay where you're really uncomfortable. And uncomfortable comfortables can be incredibly safe spaces.
Mhm.
But just like a concrete barrier around a flower, that flower is not going to bloom anywhere but inside that little bitty concrete barrier. It won't
Wow.
spread. Doesn't mean it's not beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just not going to reach its potential.
Wow.
So,
That is some big stuff. And Elizabeth says, I just love our Wednesdays, and we love
me
our
too,
Wednesdays
Elizabeth.
too. We love that you're here. And Corinne's a pretty cool show. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. You guys make our shows. I mean, it's our gathering every week. And there are a lot of people who don't comment. That's okay. because you give us private messages and let us know that you're there, and we're here for you.
Absolutely. And so on that note, I know we've gone over and you've already thanked everybody for everything. So I'm just going to say increase your peace. And also, I might be working on a merchandise line with shirts and bags and journals that might say that. Just saying.
I love it. I love it.
Saying.
Now everybody's adding to the thing. Everybody's saying increase the peace. That's what it is.
That's right.
That's my favorite Terryism, and we can all have that. And I know if we walk around carrying the bags that say increase the peace, do you know how many people in this world are going to be hit by that message? And we can say that a bunch.
We can. I love that. I love it. I don't know how, I don't know when it landed on me. It's been decades ago, but I've said it over and over and over. And I love it.
I love it. Mel is saying, I'd buy that t-shirt.
There you go.
So there you
There you
go.
go.
We're just be watching, because transcendingturbulence.com for a merch line coming up soon. Oh, you guys,
right.
We love y'all.
That's right.
Oh,
Y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
yeah. Candy has requested swimming hats that say Transcending Turbulence for a water workout.
There you go, Candy girl. I'm going to get right on that.
That's
We can
awesome.
do that.
That's so good. Bye, you
Absolutely.
guys.